The Thunder's record to start, 6-11. Their record since, 34-13. What are we doing? How are so many people still sleeping on the Oklahoma City Thunder? The expert stats said they had a 2% chance to make the playoffs before the season. My theory why we're sleeping, the Thunder sucked at first and a lot of people went, okay, I've seen all I need to see. I've made my mind up about them. But when everyone looked away, OKC became the third best team in the NBA. Since Thanksgiving, it goes Bucks number 1, Lakers 2, then the Thunder by record. So how good are the Thunder actually? Well, in this video, we're gonna predict how far they will get in the NBA bubble playoffs. Hey guys, it's Casey. Welcome to AM Hoops, and games are starting today. I am so excited. Couple of announcements. First, hit subscribe. For 5 videos per week, they come out at 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday. You can guarantee that. Also, just started a second channel, and it's just for interviews, maybe a little bit of my podcast, but it's called AM Hoops Interviews. The first video just dropped, and it's me debating the Lakers' prophet about whether or not the Lakers are going to win the championship this year. And the last thing is, you may or may not know about my Bull bet with you, my viewers. If he scores 16 points or more in the playoffs, I will probably end up shaving my head, which sucks because I love my hair. But this week's shirt is unbelievable because honestly, we're gonna have so much fun watching this guy in the bubble either way. If you wanna get the shirt and support the channel, it is right below this video. I just really hope I don't lose that bet. Back to OKC, and the first thing I have to say is props to Chris Paul. This year has added so much to his legacy when most people just thought he'd disappear. When he was traded for Russell Westbrook, I think most people assumed that CP3 didn't even want to be in Oklahoma City. Maybe he would demand a trade. Instead, he has been nothing but a team player. He has led the young guys on OKC. He's played well himself as an all-star, and the team has taken on his personality. I mean, he is a great clutch player, and they are a great clutch team. Now they're just playing with house money. I mean, let's say they do lose in the first round. It won't feel like the last 2 years when Russ was there. OKC used to have Westbrook's personality. You know, kind of miserable, jerks to the media. Even though Russ was an MVP, they lost in the first round. I am sure that people who work for the Thunder are so glad secretly Chris Paul is the leader there now and not Russell Westbrook. It's probably so much more like easy and light in the building, like a lot less miserable and salty. And by the way, I think with Chris Paul, they will win a first round series. I'll reveal who they would beat and how far they'll go later in the video. But Chris Paul isn't the only reason they've been so good this season. They traded CP3 and Paul George, and they're basically a whole new team. Danilo Gallinari, one of the best three-point shooters in the league, scores about 20 points per game. Steven Adams is a 7-footer who apparently, according to the last scrimmage, can fall down, keep his dribble, and Euro step to the rim. CP3, Dennis Schroder, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have been amazing to close out games. The concern about that three-guard lineup was defense, but Schroder has had his best defensive season ever, and he is a 6th Man of the Year candidate. They have a 29-13 record in games that finish in clutch situations, within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. They just win close games. They are first in offense and second in defense in those games. So yeah, they are amazing. But here's my first problem. They are not that team anymore. I mean, the first difference is Andre Roberson. I love that he's healthy again. It's been amazing after 2 years to finally see him in a game, but I don't think he's gonna be a major factor in the playoffs, even though he will get minutes. In these scrimmages, he's played just 12, 15, and 18 minutes. It's all pretty much come against bench players. Even Portland sat Dame and CJ, which would have been a great test for him. It will be a mistake if Billy Donovan wants to lean on Roberson in the postseason. I think there's even a chance he'll play small ball center against like the Rockets or the Clippers, but he would get eaten alive and it will cost them a game. The other change to OKC is Dennis Schroder leaving the bubble. We just went over how important he's been to their success. Schroder said he will, quote, for sure leave the bubble when his wife gives birth in about 2 weeks. And it's too bad because that lines up basically with the first round of the playoffs, especially with the quarantine rules about how Even if you test negative every day, you have to quarantine for 4 days before rejoining your team. And I get it. It's the birth of your child. I mean, I don't have kids, but I could imagine. So I really feel for the Thunder. But maybe he pulls a Fred VanVleet and absolutely kills it after his kid is born. Either way, it's a question mark. But now it is prediction time. And I said they will win the first round, but I also will say it depends who they play. Now, the 3 seed and 7 seed are all separated by just 4 games in the Western Conference. So a lot will change during these 8 games before the playoffs. I think OKC is most likely to play the Jazz, the Rockets, the Nuggets, or the Mavericks in the first round. So let's rank these teams from who OKC wants to play to who they don't want to play in the first round. I think they would most want to play the Utah Jazz. Anyone would want to play them right now. I mean, they have potential off-the-court issues still, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. They have on-the-court issues with Bojan Bogdanovic out after wrist surgery. He scored 20 points per game. OKC will lean on Lou Dort and Roberson to defend Spida Mitchell and Steven Adams to defend Rudy Gobert. Utah would need Mike Conley to step up consistently, which he has not done, so I pick the Thunder. Next up, they want to play the Houston Rockets. Look, Russell Westbrook is an emotional player, and nothing will get his emotions more fired up than playing against the team that he came up with for 11 years. Last year, way too emotional against Damian Lillard, first round exit. Year before that, way too emotional against Ricky Rubio, first round exit. The Rockets do have elite talent, which is why they aren't below the Jazz here, but I also don't like Eric Gordon's latest injury. He'll be out until at least the playoffs, and there are way too many question marks with Houston, especially in this matchup. Next up is the Nuggets, and now we're getting to these teams who OKC does not want to play because it is hard to find a position that the Thunder are better at. Nikola Jokic, bad for Steven Adams offensively, same deal for Jamal Murray and Gary Harris. The Nuggets pride themselves on defense too. There's a reason they are the 3 seed out west. The concerns I have though for Denver are how thin they have been in the bubble so far, and a possible distraction from Michael Porter Jr.'s comments. He literally thinks coronavirus is a made-up conspiracy. That's not good. But the toughest matchup for OKC is the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas has the #1 offense in the NBA by far. They are better than the 73-9 Warriors on offense. On top of that, Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic are healthy. They look good in the scrimmages. The only concern I have with Dallas here is defense, but that always improves in the postseason. So actually, I would find it hard to pick OKC over Dallas in the first round. So I would pick OKC over the Jazz and the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, and possibly the Denver Nuggets. I do want to see how they all play in the seeding games. But after that, zero chance OKC gets to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, we're sleeping on them, but not that much. I mean, they would have to go through either the Lakers or the Clippers. That's most likely how the bracket's gonna go. In the second round, even as great as OKC has been, they will be swept, maybe win a game against either LA team. Look, a lot of stats are great for the Thunder. We've been over those, but these stats are not. They do not stack up against the best in the West. The Thunder have just a plus 2.5 point differential per game. That is the lowest against the best in the Western Conference. They're also just 9-17 against teams with a winning record. Also worst among the best teams in the West. When it comes down to the best teams and the biggest stage, the Thunder will lose against teams with 2 legit stars. I mean, the Clippers and the Lakers have 2 of the top 15 players in the league. That means even though the Thunder are great in the clutch, stars will overcome it. Guys like Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James have made their legacy by making big shots in close, important games. Yes, of course, the Kawhi Game 7 buzzer beater last year, all of LeBron's clutch playoff shots, but it's not just buzzer beaters. Playoff games often come down to who's got the best player on the floor. I remember Steve Kerr once explaining that all the strategy and system in the world goes out the window in the final few seconds of a big game. For 99% of the game, it's about executing your system, beautiful basketball. But for that last 1%, it turns into ugly ISO ball. Everyone knows who's taking the last shot. Bottom line, the Lakers and Clippers have multiple guys to fill that role, and the Thunder have maybe one, Chris Paul. So yeah, they have like a hope to win a big game against the Clippers or the Lakers, but they have zero chance to do it in a 7-game series. Now, the really interesting thing is, what does OKC do after the playoffs in the offseason? Like, they have huge decisions to make. Do you trade Chris Paul? Do you re-sign Danilo Gallinari? Off-season Wednesdays on AM Hoops will resume after the playoffs are over. But for now, we get to watch this group upset a potential contender in the bubble. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.